What was the most bullcrap ending to a movie you've seen? For the life of me, I can't remember what the movie is called. But it's a Nick Cage movie about the apocalypse, and for the whole movie is pretty good up until right at the end where aliens save the world by taking some children, seemingly randomly chosen by them, from Earth and bringing them to a new planet, to breed and make a new civilization. They chose only children and just dropped them off on an empty planet. Just a really bizarre ending. Emo. When ScarJo turns into a USB drive, I laughed, it was so dumb. Hancock. The first 2/3 was great. Flawed superhero tries to be better. The third act was just awful. Threat level midnight. Agent Scan ends up working for the president again, even though it was previously established he was evil. I'm Legend. Completely changed the entire point of the original story. Shout out to Pretty Woman for changing the ending of that movie to the same effect, since many people have asked. Pretty Woman didn't end as a love story originally. At the end of the original script, Richard's character threw my character out of the car, threw the money on top of her, and drove away, and the credits rolled. Although there was one more scene after that where she is in a bus on the way to Disney, was originally quite a dark ending. Law-abiding citizen. The morally ambiguous protagonist had a point. I was disappointed at the end. Grease. After a whole movie of staying true to herself, at the end she compromises her stance on everything, changes herself completely to be with him, and then they ride off into the sky together in a flying car. Frick Jurassic World. Okay, so this freaking Indominus Rex, or whoever the freaking bullcrap has to be miles away from the coast, where the tourists are, but a motherfricking goddamn fricking T-Rex is right in the center of the fricking store cluster. Not only that freaking bullcrap, but the motherfricker has a door exclusively made for the fricking thing, that leads right out in the middle of the shopping district, and not just that, this frickin' bish, this frickin' bitch, running in heels, can outrun a freaking T-Rex in heels. When this motherfricker, this freaking motherfricker almost caught a freaking Jeep. Frick Jurassic World. Lucy. Spoiler. Scarlett Johansson turns into a goddamn USB stick. How it ends. Crap movie to begin with. Even crappier ending. Should be called How It Ends. Indiana Jones. Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Shia LaBeouf. World War Z. Now, unlike most people who were fans of the book, I didn't hate the movie for not following it at all. I mean, if anything, having read the book you understand why it would be a nightmare to implement as a movie. It's an anthology style story and those are kind of hit and miss when translated to cinema. So I get what they were kind of trying to do with the movie. They made their own story within that setting that, if they had done it right, cold fit snugly into the book with all the other stories. The problem is, they wanted their story to be the story and their story plotted to solve everything, so they went and did that bullcrap ending where the trick is to inject yourself with all the diseases to make yourself invisible to zombies. In the book the zombie problem was never really solved, nor was a miracle cure found. The human race just found a way to manage the threat and live with it. How It Ends on Netflix. Spoiler, it doesn't. The Happening. Goddamn, that movie / ending sucked. My Fair Lady. She just ends up with an emotional abusive boss and doesn't live her dream to own a flower shop like he promised. Any film that ends with "and it was all in their head" annoys me, like where we follow the story from their view, then realize we shouldn't have trusted their view because they were insane the whole time. I can think of one exception which I won't name, but I just feel it's overused now. Luke dying randomly because he used the Force too much at the end of Last Jedi. That one movie where Blake Lively is banging those two drug dealers. Awful ending. Unbelievable almost. Quarantine. The actual ending scene was in the commercials. I didn't read the books, so I was completely blindsided by the crap ending to Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 2. From what I remember they spend the entire movie trekking to the capital, prepping for this freaking rad battle. Then Katniss gets knocked out, misses the entire fight and wakes up to find that they won the battle and Snow was captured. Lol. What? That's the equivalent of Luke getting knocked out at the end of Star Wars and waking up 3 days later to find out the Death Star blew up and Vader was captured off screen. Kong POW. At the end they show a dope-ass trailer for a sequel, and after seeing it in theaters and buying it on DVD in like 2002, I'm still waiting for that sequel 16 years later, god damn it. Wonder Woman. After Chris Pine has this really good talk about how there isn't just one bad guy you can kill to make the world a better place, Ayers shows up and reveals he was behind the war, and there's blood and CGI and explosions and fighting and death and yelling, and then when Ayers dies the war is over, completely negating any meaningful lesson the main character might have learned. Jurassic World, Fallen Kingdom. Hey, let's save the dinosaurs by unleashing them to the world and killing the entire human race. Doc Brown. 2015. Once you're back in 1985, destroy the time machine so it doesn't get into the wrong hands. Also, don't mess with the timeline for personal gain. Doc Brown. 1955. Oh no, these time travel parts won't be invented for 30 years. I can't build another one. Doc Brown. 1895. Lol, I just built another time machine with my kids. The Golden Compass. The movie ended about one chapter from the end of the book, but the omission of that chapter took the story from OMG what the actual frick yay. Happy Disney ending. I was pretty much on board with the movie until then. Remember Me was a mediocre romance movie, and then it ended with him walking into the WTC on 9/11. Transcendence. The super intelligent AI, which has control of the entire world, developed new processes to function more efficient, rewrote itself etc gets destroyed by a computer virus written by some dude in a day. Even worse, the AI knew about it when uploading it and didn't do anything to prevent the damage. I really liked the story of the movie, but the outcome was stupid. The final Twilight movie and the book. I remember reading the final book, and it's all leading up to this final showdown with the evil vampires. I'm thinking, okay, this might be pretty epic. Maybe we'll see some people die. Then the bad guys finally show up and are like, your baby is dangerous and we gotta kill it. But the good guys are like, actually the baby is harmless, and the bad guys are like, oh okay, have a nice day, and then leave. The movie had to add a whole hypothetical dream sequences just to add some sort of action to that story. When the entire movie turns into a head and shoulders shampoo advert. Spectre. I hated how Bond and Blofeld were brothers. I think it would have been way better if Lee Sedux was actually Blofeld. Before the movie came out, I was actually hoping she was, but it wouldn't make sense since they had Christoph Waltz. A Cure for Wellness. The whole movie they created an intense atmosphere, and it felt like one of those movies which leave you behind confused or heavily thinking. For instance, Shutter Island, Donnie Darko, etc. But the end to this movie is just pure bullcrap. I don't know who came up with the idea of a 300-year-old person randomly appearing and fighting against the main character. The movie really has some potential, but this ending fed it up completely. Prometheus. Make a complete film, even if it's setting up another film. It was good until the non-ending. Final Countdown. The Usnamitz from 1980 goes back in time to Pearl Harbor and is about to royally frick up the Japanese fleet in the coolest fight scene ever when boop. Everybody's back in the future. The jets land and that's it, kids. Hope you had fun. You destroyed my city. My mother's name is Martha. 2. Oh. The Devil Inside was a horror movie that ends with a link to a website. Titanic. I mean, come on. No way that ship's gonna sink. The most recent movie I've watched that comes in mind is Sierra Burgess is a Loser. It honestly is such a horrible movie with a horrible ending. Not a movie, but I hated the end of How I Met Your Mother. The Woman in Black. Spoilers. Kills off the main character and his son, which is what I think happens in the book. I think I remember the stage show ending similarly too. And I can only assume this was to get the age rating down, so the kiddies would go to see the Harry Potter actor. It immediately cuts to them in heaven reuniting with wife/mother. That's your mummy, he says to the kid. Absolute cringe. The original It movie built up suspense and was quite good, suddenly terrible CGI thing being taken out stupidly. Mama. Great movie. I loved almost every minute of it. Until the end. You have a deranged demon mother. Legit. She's a demon. desperate to keep the children she's been raising from being taken back to the real world. One daughter is old enough to understand this isn't right and she wants to be with her family and legit fears mama, while the younger sister wants to stay BC. Mama is all she knows. So the trade-off: little sister goes with mama and they fall off a cliff and burst into butterflies, and the older sister and her uncle and his first "I don't want kids, but now I love these girls" girlfriend just kinda get up, brush off and head home. Da fuck. Merlin, the BBC show. That ending was just absolute dog crap. Spoiler, it sucked. We never got to see Arthur and Merlin interact after Arthur found out about his powers. Knowing. Amazing build up, and suspense turns out so disappointing. Let Us Pray, the female lead, whose past sexual trauma and general uncomfortableness with sexual matters, because of it, is firmly established in the movie, ends up making out with a guy who is the reason everyone else is dead, after he made a salacious comment about her and basically told her that he knew all about her sexual trauma and that he was the reason she escaped. Super creepy. Came out of nowhere and completely against established characterization for the lead. Room 1408. What I thought was the ending had me pretty mad off, but people have seen it will understand how great that payoff is. Ready Play 1. He just resurrects and wins. Like WTF. Cold been a bit more exciting. Limitless. Everything just works out all hunky-dory for Brad Cooper's character. Any message, theme, or moral of that movie was completely left to die by a plot decision that allowed the main character to be way better off than when he started. All because he figured out how to dose the limitless drug. He went through some crap, and now he's a politician? I mean, what the frick? Haven't seen the movie since theaters, so I could be off on a few things, but I still remember the sheer anger I had from the opposite of a well-deserved payoff. Fireworks in Star Wars Episode 6. Not a movie, but you all saw Dexter, right? 28 days later, the bright, happy ending with the cabin and them being discovered by the plane was not a horrible ending in and of itself, but it becomes way worse when you watch the deleted ending. The ending already has a pretty jarring tonal shift. What starts as a dark gritty zombie horror film ends with the main characters in a picturesque log cabin next to a lake in the sunshine. The final shot is them waving at a passing airplane, presumably being rescued. Not the worst ending of all time, but weirdly feel good and feels like it was tacked on at the end. It feels like a focus group ending. The deleted ending has the main character being carried into the basement of an abandoned hospital, wounded and bleeding out. The two girls with him futilely try to save him, but he dies on a dirty table. They look at each other, walk through a double door, and fade to black. It's a way more depressing ending, but it is way more tonally consistent. Downsizing. It went from mildly interesting to absolute garbage pretty quick. The Death Note Netflix movie. The whole movie was bullcrap, but the ending was an even bullcraptier bullcrap. Light's plan was to write on the Death Note that Ma dies while the page with his name burn. He survived the fall from the Ferris wheel. Another person finds the Death Note and uses it in order to throw the police off. Almost all of that breaks the rules that the movie established at the beginning. Things have to be physically possible in order for the Death Note to make them happen. So how could he survive that fall? You can't make people do stuff that they have no knowledge of. So how could that random guy find the Death Note without knowing where it is? How did Light know there was gonna be a fire nearby for his page to fall in? If there wasn't a fire, the page wouldn't have been able to burn, and he would died. Then, as the cherry on top of the turd pile, the movie ends with Riot laughing while saying humans are so interesting, while Light looks at him all confused. Super random and abrupt way to end the movie, but I guess there was no good way to end that crap show. And Ryuk is one of the best things about that movie. Click when Adam Sandler wakes up and it's all a dream. B-movie. What the frick is even going on? You can't have gay relationships in children's programs, but you can have a woman fall in love with a freaking bee. How long do you need to go without getting laid until a bee becomes a viable love interest? No question. It is science. Okay. So in the end they realize that the aliens are vulnerable to water and you can literally kill them with a super soaker. The reason they discover this is because the alien spaceships never land near water. So you're telling me these aliens have technology advanced enough for intergalactic travel, but not rain ponchos? Horror movie, I believe French, called High Tension. Turns out the woman, who saw her friends killed and being chased by the killer, was in fact the killer. That little twist wouldn't be too bad if she didn't have a car chase with the killer herself. Cloverfield Lane, or W/E, the second Cloverfield movie is called. We have this cool human drama / suspense movie for like 90% of the runtime. Then at the end, boom, aliens, yo. Cold, done with something more subtle. In Robin Hood with Russell Crowe, there's some bullcrap about how he helped write the Magna Carta, or some tenuous lame crap. There's a meaningless battle scene on a beach too. Total nonsense. I'm sorry, but Interstellar, it's a pretty good and accurate sci-fi movie until they added freaking transcendental love into the goddamn physics equation. Had to let it go. The one where Purple Man snaps his fingers and kill everyone. The Last Exorcism, spoilers. So the whole film is a commentary on how people can be tricked into believing something that isn't necessarily real, and that the human mind is an amazing thing. Cut to the last 10 minutes of the film, where a girl gives birth to a tiny demon, which is thrown in a fire, and summons a huge 20-foot demon. Like, right up to the end, it was a great film, kinda poking fun at exorcisms, and how people can be brainwashed, and bam, a demon and the main Legend of the Guardians. At the end, the owl parents seemed to completely forget that their other son had just died. The Village. It's been years since I watched it, but I'll try to summarize. It's set a couple hundred years ago, or some crap, and it's this secluded village that nobody can leave because there are monsters that kill people or something. Somebody gets injured or something, so the village decide to send the one blind person and the entire freaking village out alone to go get medical supplies. She encounters one of the monsters. Plot twist, it's a freaking guy in a costume. She kills it. Continues walking. Reaches a road. Plot twist, it's set in modern day. It's virtually a movie about nothing. A blind woman from a secluded Amish village walks through the woods to get supplies and pushes someone into a pit on her way there. That's the entire movie. The Wizard or Oz, only I enjoyed it so much as a kid. It never really bothered me back then. First, after Glenda sends Dorothy on a wild goose chase, she later tells her, "You had the powers to go home all along by just clapping your ruby slippers together." What? Secondly, she then wakes up and she realizes that it was all just a dream. What other movie could normally get away with that plot twist? Signs. The freaking aliens invade a planet made up of water, but water kills them. Jim a freaking break. Now you see me. Bullcrap twist. There's no slight suggestion or foreshadowing. And bam. Big twist. It completely destroys the entire backbone of the movie till that point. Unrelated. Completely missed opportunity to call Now You See Me Too, Now You Don't. Passion of the Christ. Was bullcrap, they killed that one homie with the cross. Not a movie, but I think the ending of Death Note belongs here. After L is dead, everything just starts to get boring. The Wolverine. The second movie in the Hugh Jackman trilogy. It was actually a pretty good movie up until halfway through the last act. Turned into a boring CGI fest fight that made the previous Wolverine's movie so bad. Everything. She didn't even have the disease. It was just her mother protecting her. Whoa. Stfu. Truth or Dare. I thought it was dumb at first. Then the plot thickened when you find out the reason why the Truth or Dare game started, and I started liking it, but became absolutely crap by the end with how they resolved the problem. Wasted my time watching the movie 0/10. The Birds. They just drive away at the end. WTF. Men in Black Second. Will Smith's love interest climbs into a egg-shaped spaceship and flies away. Tomorrowland, Jesus, that movie sucked. Monty Python and the Knights of the Holy Grail. The ending was a real cop-out. I'm going to go a little old school with this one. But Monster A Go. Suddenly, there was no monster. It was 9/11 all along. At the end of The Breakfast Club, when Mr. Tough Guy and Quiet Strange Girl get together after he's been an ass the whole movie, it makes no sense. Interstellar. Just die in the black hole, Matthew. Whatever you do, please do something better than Fifth Dimension of Love. Inferno. Ron Howard totally destroys the book with his stupid freaking ending. The Lovely Bones Icicle. Give me a freaking break. That entire movie/book is just nightmare fuel for worried mothers. Hitchcock's The Birds always gets me. It's good in a way I guess, but it's not what I expected.